Hello, everyone. So we're continuing our virtual Mishnah Berurah share. A good Mayid. I hope everyone had a wonderful Yom Tov. I'm sure everybody had more time than usual to spend with their families. I hope it went well. And now we're here on the first day of Chol Hamoed Pesach, and we're continuing our share in Mishnah Berurah on Hilchos Pesach. We are on the bottom of Nun Ches Amid Beis in Chelik Hey. We're in Siman Tav Samach, and we are up to Sif Gimel. So the Mechaber says, Halosh achar zman iser chametz. If somebody is kneading his matzah dough after the zman of the iser chametz, so he's kneading his matzah dough already on Erev Pesach after the zman that chametz is already aser, and now if he generates any chametz during the preparation of the matzah, so for example, he's kneading matzah dough, he prepares the dough. He takes some, he rolls it out for a matzah. Some crumbs get on the table, crumbs of dough. If they sit, they're going to become chametz. At this point, chametz is already aser. It's not like you're baking your matzahs 3 weeks early. If you're baking your matzahs 3 weeks early, so even if you have chametz, so what? So you'll throw it out, you'll get rid of it. But now, on Erev Pesach, after the Zman Iser, if you generate any chametz, that chametz is yours, it's in your property, you're going to be over on the Iser of Berurah by your matzah. So what do? Says the Mechaber, Halash achar zman iser chametz. If you're kneading your matzah dough after the zman iser, when chametz is already prohibited on Erev Pesach, yomer b'shas lisha. You should say at the time that you're kneading the dough, you should make the following verbal statement: Kol perurim sheyiplu b'shas lisha va'aricha. Any crumbs of dough that fall during the time of the kneading or of the rolling out of the matzahs. And similarly, any dough that will adhere and remain stuck to any of the utensils that we're using, ani mevatel oisam. I immediately nullify them. I'm mevatel that chametz immediately before it even becomes chametz. I'm mevatel that dough immediately, not chametz. You see, the problem here is, since it's after the Zman Iser, any dough that's going to actually become chametz, you can't be mevatel. Because let's realize, we spoke about this earlier. When you have chametz on Pesach, that's something that's aser bahana, and technically speaking, it really is not in your property. Something that's forbidden to you, and something that it's forbidden for you to derive any benefit from, is technically already not in your property. So you can't be mevatel it. But you're over by your raw, by your matzeh, because like the Chazal say, chametz is one of those things that even though really it's not in your rishus, but the Torah puts it in your rishus in the context of the Isser of Berurah by your matzeh. So as far as the Isser of Berurah by your matzeh is concerned, that chametz is considered in your rishus. But as far as your ability to be mevatel it, you cannot be mevatel something that you really don't have ownership on. So you can't be mevatel it. So what you're doing here with this verbal statement is you're saying, I'm mevatel all of the dough before it becomes chametz. Any crumbs of dough that fall on the table or fall on the floor, any crumbs of dough that adhere to the rolling pin or to the table or to the sticks, anything else, I'm mevatel that dough immediately before it becomes chametz. The whole point over here is that you're being mevatel this dough before it becomes chametz, so you never have a situation where you're going to be over Berurah and matzeh. Says the Mishnah Berurah in Ois Kat Neches, several lines off the bottom of Nun Ches Amid Beis. Says the Chavetz Chaim, you're preparing this matzah achar zman iser chametz, after the time on Erev Pesach where chametz is already prohibited. The kaidem zman iser, if you're baking the matzah before chametz is aser, afilo haya b'yoyim arba asar shekvar badak shar chametz. Let's say you're doing this on Erev Pesach, but you're doing it 9 o'clock in the morning, and chametz is not yet aser. Now it's after you did bedikas chametz. You did bedikas chametz the previous night, so you already finished with your bedikas chametz, but chametz is not yet aser. Mikal makayim ein tzarich loymar b'shas lisha. If you would be baking the matzah then you don't have to make a verbal statement while you're kneading the matzah dough or while you're rolling out the matzah dough that any crumbs that I generate should become bottle now. You don't have to say that. If you're rolling out matzahs at 9 o'clock in the morning and the Zman Isser is at 11:20, So, okay, you'll roll out your matzah at 11:10. Then you'll be mavatal the chametz, and you'll say any chametz that I have, and you'll include in that any dough that you might have generated that morning. Any of that chametz is now bottled. But you don't have to say it mamish at the zman of the lisha while you're kneading the dough or while you're rolling out the dough. That you only have to do when you're already kneading dough after the zman ha'isr. If you're kneading dough after the zman ha'isr, now you can't take any chances. You can't wait for it to become chametz. So you got to say now, I'm mevatel any crumbs now before they become chametz. Again, the Mishnah Berurah is saying here, if you're talking about before the Zman Isser, ubalav hachi hu omer kol chamira. Anyway, if you're kneading your dough and rolling out your matzahs at 9 o'clock in the morning, when you do beer chametz later on, you're going to say kol chamira. You're going to say any chametz that I have, whether I know about it or I don't know about it, it's bottle and it's hefka kafir. So when you say kol chamira before the zman isser, you will be including in that any dough that you may have generated early in the morning. Hence, if you're kneading your dough after the zman isser, now you can't do bittul once it becomes chametz, because like I explained, once it becomes chametz, it's not yours. It's yours as far as by your rabbi Yamotz is concerned, but it's not yours that you should be able to be mavatal it. And we can't risk, you have to do this bittul right away, because we can't risk, maybe you won't destroy those crumbs of dough immediately, and thus you will come to be over by your rabbi Yamotze. And that's why you have to do the bittul before these pieces of dough become chametz. Let's say you have the matzah bakery, you own a matzah bakery, or you have a matzah baking little facility in your house, and people are using it on Erev Pesach after the Zman Isser. They make the matzah for you, but you're not there. Still, Yachal Avatlam Bebeisai, you still could do the bittul. You could still say, I'm avatal any dough that's being generated. Ice cut and test. Yomer b'shas lisha. You should make this verbal statement during the time of the kneading of the dough. After you finish the baking of the matzahs, yechabe dabayis. You should sweep out the house. And similarly, you should clean off the table that you rolled the matzahs on. Afal pi shebitel. Even though you were mavatal the chametz. What he's saying is, it's 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and you're baking matzahs on Erev Pesach after the Zman Isser. So, okay, you're rolling out your matzah, little crumbs of dough are falling off, and you say right away, I'm mavatal any crumbs of dough. Little pieces of dough are sticking to the rolling pin, you say, I'm mavatal anything that sticks to the rolling pin. Now you finish your baking, you bake all your matzahs, says the Chavetz Chaim, sweep the floor and clean off the table. Why? You will mavatal everything. Who cares if anything stayed there? No, you still have to get rid of whatever chametz there might be there. Any dough that you find, you have to burn. And let's remember, the reason for this is because we said all the way at the beginning, when we first started talking about the halachas of chametz, we said, really, midaraisa, it's enough to either be mevatel your chametz, right? Really, you don't have to go through your whole house and find all your chametz and get rid of it. Really, midaraisa, you could just say, I'm mevatel all my chametz. I nullify all my chametz. It should be hefker, it should be ownerless like the dust of the earth, and that's it. You're not over by your rabbi Yamotze anymore. Midrabanan, we say that that's not enough. You have to do bittul, and you also have to get rid of it. And we're also machmir lechatchila, like the shita of Rabbi Yehuda, that how do you get rid of chametz on Yom Tov? You burn it. That's the shita of Rabbi Yehuda, that ain't beer chametz ela b'sreifa. And we said earlier that we're makbid lechatchila on sreifa. So therefore, says the Chavetz Chaim, even though you followed the instructions of the Shulchan Aruch, and as you were baking your matzahs after the Zman Isser, you were mevatel any dough that became generated during the baking process. Still in all, when you finish the baking process, sweep it all out, gather it all up, any dough that you find, burn it. V'yesha kasvu, there are those that write, to mitam zeh, since we're makpid, like the sheet of Rabbi Yehuda, that you have to burn it, toiv sheyidrois ha-perurim beraglav ba'afar tekef mishanaflu kaidim sheyavo lidei chimutz. The best thing for you to do is, as you're baking and you see some crumbs fall on the floor, smash them with your foot and grind them into the dirt with your foot. By doing that, you're being mavarit. And you're not letting it become chametz. You're being mavarit before it becomes chametz. Because anything that is going to become chametz, tzarich l'sarfan. You're going to have to sweep it all up and burn it l'chatchila like the shita of Rabbi Yehuda. Ice cut and yud. The Mechaber said we have this problem with pieces of dough, crumbs of dough that fall to the floor, and also any dough hanidbak bakalim, any dough that becomes adhered to the various utensils that you're using during the baking process. Ayin la'el b'simen tafton tesif dalad b'haga. He sends us back to Siman tafton tesif dalad in the words of the Ramah. Dim lush b'yamtiv, that if somebody prepares a dough on yamtiv, ma yaseh b'hakelim acharkach. What should he do with the kalim? We spoke back then about, let's say, a rolling pin that you used on Yom Tov. So certainly chametz is usher now. And now you have dough that's caked onto the keli. What do? We said to bake it is not so pashut. You can't just take the rolling pin and throw it in the oven and bake it, because that would be afiyah shaloi l'tzarich, because you're not baking that to eat it. So what are you doing? You're burning it. We don't burn it on Yom Tov. So we said then you take and you can't wash it, because we said washing the dishes, washing the utensils, if these are utensils that you're not going to use anymore on Yom Tov, that's a tircha shaloi l'tzarich that you don't do on Yom Tov. So we said then, what could you do? You could take the rolling pin and you could put it in cold water and make sure that water stays cold so it never comes lidei chimutz. V'hachamayri b'losh be'erev Pesach. Over here, the Mechaber is talking about where you're baking matzahs on Erev Pesach, Achar Zman Isurai, after the Zman Isser, the Yachal Egar HaChametz Me'alei and Achar Kach V'lahadichon. Over here, you could wash the Kalim. We're talking about Erev Yom Tov. It's not Yom Tov yet, so there's no Isser in washing the Kalim. And again, the Chavetz Chaim is repeating himself. Even though you are mevatel any dough that stuck to the rolling pin and to the other kalim, still, you also have to wash them off and do beer. Get rid of anything that might be chametz. The verbal statement that you're going to make, you say that any crumbs of dough that fell down during the baking process, or any dough that's adhered to the kalim, ani mevatel, I nullify them. The Chavetz Chaim says you could either use the lashon of bittul, or you could use a lashon of hefker. You get bittul is you nullify it; it's like nothingness to you. Hefker means you're declaring it ownerless; you don't own it. Avalo yoimar pirurin hefker. You should not make a verbal statement that say crumbs of hefker. Deina lashon mevarer shemafkiron, because that language is not a statement that you were mafkir it. You're just making a statement, the crumbs of hefker. But you didn't say I was mafkir it. Because the implication of those words is that somehow they became hefker by themselves. That's not you being mafkir it. You have to be mafkir it. It was yours. You have to declare it ownerless. The Achronim write the L'shainoi shel bittul v'hefker tzarich loimer dafka b'loshin shemavin. The Achronim write that when you're making a verbal statement of this type, you have to use a language that you understand. You can't just say, some kind of archaic formula, and you don't know what that formula means. Same thing before Pesach, when you do beer chametz and you say kol chamira, we learned this earlier. If those words are Greek to you, it's not effective. So then say it in English, say it in Aramaic, and then repeat it in English. Any bread, any chametz, any leaven that's in my property, whether I know about it or I don't know about it, whether I saw it or I didn't see it, it should be bottled, it should be nullified, it should be ownerless like the dust of the earth, but it's got to be something that you understand what you're saying. If you don't understand what you're saying, it's not efficacious. Ice cut yud beis, shemavatlan kaidem chimutzan. By doing this, by being mavatal the dough immediately, it comes out that you were mavatal it before it had a chance to become chametz. And by doing so, Even if it does become chametz later, you're not going to be over in Bal Yerah, Bal Yematzeh, the Einoi Shaloi, because by the time the dough becomes chametz, it no longer belongs to you. Now we go weiter in the Mechaber Sif Daled, the second line on the top of Nun Tes Amud Aleph. Ein oisin srikin hametzuyarin. You cannot make matzahs in a shape. So if you want to be cutesy and you think to yourself that, well, I'll do something, we always want to keep the kids up by the Seder. So, animal crackers, I'm going to make animal matzahs. Or I'm going to make funny looking matzahs. For Tzvardei, I'll make frog matzahs. So you want to make matzahs in the shape of a frog. Or you want to make matzahs in any other kind of shape. Says the Mechaber, Lechatchila ein oisin srikin ametzuyarin. We do not make srikin, or another word for matzahs. Literally, I guess it would be crackers. Srikin ametzuyarin. We do not make matzahs in a shape. Dahainu, meaning litzayer bapas, to shape the bread, meaning over here the matzah, kimin chaya va'oif, like some kind of a chaya, some kind of a wild animal, or an oif, or a bird. Says the Mishnah Berurah, nice cotton Yud Gimel. Ein oisin. When the Mechaber says that we do not do this, pirush lechatchila. The Mechaber means that we do not do this lechatchila. It's not proper to do this, and we'll see shortly why. Ubediyeved, however, if you did do this, and now that's the matzah that you have, mutarin ba'achila, you are allowed to eat them, imaloy shahab tziyuran shir chimutz, as long as when you worked to make it, you didn't spend so much time making it that you delayed for the amount of time that it takes for the dough to become chametz, the sheer mill. If you're sitting and you're trying to make some kind of intricate froggy over there out of your matzah, it might take time. So if you waited for the sheer mill, if you delayed for a sheer mill, you may have a real problem of chametz over here. Then b'diavad, you're not allowed to eat it. But if you made some kind of a basic shape out of the dough, and you did it fast, it only took 30 seconds, it took a minute, it took 2 minutes. So there's no suffix over here that it took so long as the sheer chametz. So then b'diavad, you're allowed to eat it. V'gam yoytze behen yedei chayvasai. And also, b'diavad, you could be yoytze the mitzvah of achilas matzah with such a matzah. Now we go to Ois Yodalid, where the Chavetz Chaim tells us why you don't do this lechatchila. Srikin hametzuyarin. We don't make these shaped matzahs, says the Chavetz Chaim. What's the problem? Lefi shehu shaya aleha litzayron. Because you take time and you delay in order to form them into a shape. And sometimes through this delay, because you're taking time, it will come to be chametz. Now, let's be cutesy. Let's say we're going to make this shape. We're not going to use our hands and try to form the dough into a shape using our hands, and that's something that takes time. Maybe we'll have a mold, like a cookie cutter. So we'll have something. What do you mean take time? We take the cookie cutter, boom, we have a shape. So it happens very, very quick. Sheina shoyet klum. So now we don't have to delay at all. There's no delay involved in using the cookie cutter. Are you allowed to do that? Says the Chavetz Chaim, no. Afal pikein, even so, like chilku chachamim, the chachamim did not differentiate. Like we always say in the Gemara, loy plug. The Chazal did not differentiate when they made an Isser, when they made a prohibition. Over here, it's not mamish and Isser d'Rabbanan, because we see that b'diavad you're allowed to use this matzah. But when the Chachamim say don't do something, they're not going to start saying, oh, this shape, yes, that shape, no. If you made it this way, yes. If you made it that way, no. Because that opens up the door for problems. Instead, they said, we don't make shaped matzahs. We don't make shaped matzahs. Doesn't matter how you do it. V'asra koil. They forbade everything. Lefi shaharaya shenefu matzahs. When somebody sees a bird-shaped matzah, he's not going to know that it was made using a cookie cutter. He's going to look at it. He's going to come home. He's going to tell his wife, wow, I just saw the coolest thing. I just saw froggy matzahs for Tzvardei. Maybe we should do that to keep the kids up. And he's not going to know that those were made with a cookie cutter. And his wife is going to go make them manually. And she's going to take time. And for this reason, we don't make a differentiation. We don't make shaped matzahs. V'chein, similarly, ein chiluk bein srikin shel balibatim ubein shel nachtaimen. There's also no difference between those made by a baker and those made by a regular housewife. You might say, well, maybe the baker is allowed to do it. The baker knows what he's doing. He's a professional. Boom, 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 boom. He makes it in 20 seconds. Yeah, the housewife, she takes time. No, we don't make a chiluk. And this is based, the reason we're bringing this down over here, because this is a discussion in the Gemara. The Gemara discusses, how about a nachtaim? How about a balabas? So the Chavetz Chaim is letting us know all of these things don't make a difference. After nachtaimin, kivuin, umergolen bazeh, ve'ein shayin ba'asiyasan. Even though the nachtaim, even though the baker is a professional, and he's used to doing this, so he does it very quickly, afal pikein aser. It's still forbidden. It's still prohibited. We still don't do this. Even when we're working with our kind of matzahs, those thin little matzahs that take a long time to become chametz, that because they're so thin, they don't become chametz very quickly. So maybe now I can make them in shapes? No. It is still not proper to make them mitzuyarin. Now we go back up to the mechaber. Let's continue the words of the mechaber. By me, it's the third line in, near the beginning of the line. Aval, however, kol ma she'oisem oisai b'masreik k'dei shelo yitpach. If you're using a masreik, is a comb. If you're using some kind of metal utensil that's going to make holes or somehow in the matzah, perforations in the matzah, and the reason you're doing this is k'dei shelo yitpach, so that the matzah shouldn't blow up. You want the air to be able to go through the matzah. So maybe you want to make a cute design on the matzah with the masreik. V'chein, similarly, masha menakvin hamatzos, when you make the holes in the matzah. So I'm not clear 100% what the difference is between the masreik, between the comb, what you do with the masreik, and what you do when you make the holes. When I first saw masreik, I assumed you meant to make holes with the masreik, unless it's just two different methods of making the holes. One is with a long tool like a comb, and maybe that's one way, and maybe the other one is menakvin, making individual holes. So maybe with the masreik, you would make one kind of design, and with the individual holes, you'd make another kind of design. I'm not sure. So when you make holes, mutter, then it's okay to make designs when you do that. Says the Mishnah Berurah, nice cut and test, vav b'masreik, pirish, v'afal pi shenasa ke'ein tzir ala matzah. No, I take it back. Let me take back what I said here. I said that it's okay to make a design. No, it's not okay to make a design. That's not what the mechaber means. That's not what Mishnah Berurah says. That's not what the mechaber means. The mechaber means when you use the masreik on the matzah, or when you use the radler, when you use the implement that makes the holes in the matzahs, it makes some kind of a design on the matzah. You know, if you do the radling the way we do it in the commercial bakeries, the long tool with the pointy roller on it that makes holes, if you do it really cool, you can make little diamonds on the matzah. So is that a problem? Because you're making a tzir, you're making a shape? Says the Mishnah Berurah here, no, pirish. Even though when you make these holes, you're making like a design on the matzah, mikam makam shari, it's still mutter. Now, why is it mutter? Because since you have no kavana to make a design, since your focus is not to make a design, your focus is to perforate matzah, we're not afraid that you're going to come to have a delay of a shear mill. But if you are mechaven to make a design, we don't want you to take a fork and spend time over there. Look, I'm going to make the holes in the matzah, and I'm going to do it really cutesy, and I'm going to make a little froggy, and then I'll make a little locust, and I'll make this, and I'll make that. Then you are mechaven to make a tzir. Says the Chavetz Chaim, if you're mechaven to make a tzir, if you're mechaven to make a design, then maybe you will come to delay, and then we do have to worry that you're going to delay for the shear mill. So that you're talking not allowed to do. Okay, now we go to the Ramah. Let's go back. By me, it's 5 lines down in the middle of the line. Says the Ramah, Hagah, v'yesh lasois hamatzos rikikin. We should make the matzahs thin wafers, thin crackers, like we Ashkenazim make our matzahs. V'lo pas ava kisha'ar lechem, but it should not be thick like other breads. Ki eina rekikin memaharin lahachmitz, because the thin matzahs do not become chametz quickly. Now, before we even go into the Mishnah Berurah, I'm going to go straight into the next sif in the Mechaber. Says the Mechaber, Ein oisin bepesach pas ava tefach. We do not make on Pesach a bread that is a tefach thick. So here we have a Mechaber that says that we don't make thick. What's called thick? A tefach. We don't make our matzahs thicker than a tefach. That's the Mechaber. What did our Ramah just say? The Ramah just said, Dalid, v'yesh latzos hamatzos rekikin. We should make them thin, like we Ashkenazim do. V'loi pas ava kishar lechem, and not thick like other breads, ki eina rekikin memarin lahachmitz. Because thin wafers, thin crackers, are not memar lahachmitz. They don't become chametz quickly. Here we see that the Mechaber allows you to make a matzah that's thick but less than a tefach. The Ramah wants you b'dafka to make thin. That's why Ashkenazim make thin matzahs, but Sfardim make somewhat thick matzahs, like a lafa, or even thicker than a lafa, as long as it's less than a tefach. Now, what's interesting is, and I'm sure many of you have already noted this, why is this Ramah in Sif Daled? Why isn't this Ramah in Sif Hey? The logical place for this Ramah would seem to be in Sif Hey. And the Mechaber says, don't make a thick matzah that's thick, a tefach thick. Then the Ramah would come and say, even better, make them thin. Why is the Ramah here in Sif Daled when we're talking about matzahs that have designs on them? So first, let's take a look at the Mishnah Berurah, Eis Katan Tezayin. That goes back on the Ramah on Sif Daled. Says the Chavetz Chaim, Rekikin, you should make them thin. Hainu, after Mevur b'Sif Hey. Even though we're about to see the Mechaber in Sif Hey, the Pachas b'Tefach Mutter Lasais, that you could make a thick matzah as long as it's less than a tefach thick. Nevertheless, says the Ramah, it's better to make thin matzahs. Now, it's very clear from this Mishnah Berurah that the Chavetz Chaim is understanding this Ramah as going on the statement of the Mechaber in Sif Hey. Even though the Mechaber says in Sif Hey you can make matzahs up to a tefach thick, says the Ramah, better you should make them thin. So right away comes the question that I ask you: what's this Ramah doing in Sif Hey? Why isn't this Ramah in Sif Daled? So let's take a look right away in the Biur Halacha. Biur Halacha Dibur Hamaschel v'yesh lasos hamatzos rekikin. Says the Biur Halacha. I in Mishnah Berurah, where I'm going to tell you very clearly that this Ramah is really going on the Mechaber in Sif Hey. V'af divrei haRamah hayanachan yosel lefaresh da divrei haMechaber koy b'masrek. Even though a simple reading of the Ramah implies that the Ramah is going back on what the Mechaber said in Sif Daled. Now, what did the Mechaber say in Sif Daled? He said you should not make a matzah with a design on it. The kashari afilu im nasa tzura al yedei zeh, and it would seem the Mechaber said that lechatchila you should not make a design. B'di'ed, it's okay. He didn't say that. But the Mechaber said you shouldn't make a design. But if you make the design with the masrek, with the comb, or you make the design when you're making the holes, that's okay because you're not mechaven. Your intent is not to make a design. So we're not worried you're going to delay. The Ka'amar, and on that the Ramah is saying, to become makayim toiv lemaher, you should make it very, very fast. The implication of the Ramah, again, the Mechaber said, don't make matzahs with designs. If you want to make if you're making holes or you're using the masrek, then it's okay because your kavana is not to make designs. Then the Mechaber said, but you should make sure that when you make the holes, you do it fast. Even though I'm telling you it's okay to make holes, even though you're making a design, but you should make sure to do it fast. And on that, the Ramah seems to be saying another eitzah also. Make sure that the matzahs are thin, because if the matzahs are thin, they don't become chametz very fast. So you get what the Berurah is saying? The Berurah is saying that the implication of the Ramah, since the Ramah said his halach in Siv Daled, is that the way Siv Daled works is like this. The Mechaber says, no designs. You're making holes in the matzahs, and that makes a design, that's okay. But still, when you make the holes, you should do it fast. On that, says the Ramah, and also you should make sure to make the matzahs thin, because the matzahs will be thin, they don't become chametz so fast. That would seem to be the implication of the Ramah, because he put it there in Sif Dalet. Nevertheless, continues to be our luck, and he says, Achein miloshan mahari vayil. From the mahari vayil, hamuva b'darkei Moshe, that's brought by the Ramah in the Darkei Moshe. So that's where this Ramah is coming from. The Ramah is coming from the mahari vayil. Mashma da'akol matzahs koi. The implication of the mahari vayil is that when the mahari vayil says make thin matzahs, he doesn't mean only when you're making holes with designs. He means whenever you make matzahs, they should be thin. So the Berurah is telling you really this Ramah is going on all matzahs, and it's really referring to what the Mechaber says in Sif Hey, that the Mechaber allows you to make matzahs thick up to a tefach, and the Ramah says no, they should be thin. Now let's go to the Mishnah Berurah, nice cut and good. Zayin pas ova tefach. The Mechaber allows you to make it thick up to a tefach. The kishi ova kolkach, don't make it more than a tefach thick, because when it's that thick, yesh lakish, we need to be concerned. Shema lo yishlait chayma eish b'saycha. Maybe the heat will not penetrate all the way to the thickness of the dough. V'tischametz b'saycha b'shas afiyasa, and the dough will become chametz inside during the baking. Avo b'pachus b'tefach mutter, but according to the Mechaber, less than a tefach is okay. V'ayin b'biur halacha, look in the biur halacha, she'evenu das kama paiskim, who brings the opinion of many paiskim, ta'afilu b'pachus b'tefach yesh l'zoyer, that we should be concerned in less than a tefach. Ub'di'eved im kfar ofa, b'di'eved, if you already baked your matzah and it's thick, as long as it's less than a tefach, yesh matirin afilu ba'ova tefach. There are those that are matir b'di'eved, even thicker than a tefach. Yesh oisrin, however, there are those who would forbid it, like the Pri Chodesh and the Ritva. Yesh oisrin. Achein b'pachas b'tefach ein losa b'di'eved. However, as long as it's less than a tefach, b'di'eved, you should not aser it. So you're an Ashkenazi, and you're stuck on Pesach, and the only matzah that you have is Sfardi matzah, that's like the lafa. If it's less than a tefach thick, you eat it. But as long as it is thick, you have to look at it inside to make sure it was well baked, and it did not become chametz. We're going to stop over here in the Mishnah Berurah. Just want to tell you a quick machshava that I had over Yom Tov. It has been bothering me since the beginning of this whole matzav with this virus. Why did the Rabbeinu Shalom, and of course we can't ask kashas, and we can't describe as his cheshbainis, but we are allowed to think into it, and if we have a machshava, something that we could learn something positive from, we could do that. Why did the Rebbeinu Shalom choose to do this during Adar and Nisan, which are zmanim of simcha? Adar marbin b'simcha v'kolshkei Nisan. So why should this happen during Adar and Nisan, which generally is supposed to be a time of simcha, and instead we find ourselves, many people are very anxious, especially people who are impacted by this. People are very anxious. They know people impacted by it. They're impacted by themselves. So it certainly seems to take away from simcha. And the machshava that I had was that we know by the Teichecha. It says in the Teichecha, one of the reasons the Rebbeinu Shalom brings Einshim, the Rebbeinu Shalom brings Klaus, is Tachas Hashem Avadatas Hashem B'Simcha Ubetov Levav Meiroiv Koil. You didn't serve the Rebbeinu Shalom B'Simcha Meiroiv Koil, from all the goodness that you have. And I know I heard over from my uncle Moshe Weiss, Olav Shalom, who said that he used to hear Klausenberger Rebbe Zechet Tzadik Levracha during the Milchama, during the war. He mentioned it to me. He said when they were sent on a work detail to sift through the ruins of the Warsaw Ghetto, looking for valuables. And the Klausenberger Rebbe, as he was sifting through the rubble, and you can imagine the horrors that they saw and they encountered while they were sifting through the rubble, he kept saying to himself, that this is happening because I didn't serve the Ribono Shel Olam mitoch simcha. We have so much. We're so spoiled. The Ribono Shel Olam showers us with such goodness. Do we serve the Ribono Shel Olam b'simcha, me'roiv koil? Do we recognize that the Ribono Shel Olam is such a gomel chesed? Do we thank the Ribono Shel Olam for all the chasadim that he does for us? Do we wake up every morning and say Moida Ani with simcha that the Ribono Shel Olam is growing my neshama another day? Every time we sit down with our family, every time we sit down, if you have parnasa, you have a home, you have glikla, you have things that are good in your life. Do we look at the Ribono Shel Olam and say, wow, the Ribono Shel Olam is so good to me? Do we say Psuka de Zimra every day by davening and thank the Ribono Shel Olam and praise the Ribono Shel Olam for all the goodness that does for me? Or do we only come to the Ribono Shel Olam when there's something that we're lacking and come to the Ribono Shel Olam that we're missing something? Could you help me? Could you give me? Do we thank the Ribono Shel Olam? If we're not misameach with the Ribono Shel Olam, then it could be the Ribono Shel Olam looks and the Ribono Shel Olam says, you don't recognize all the goodness that I give you? You're not misameach with me from all the goodness that I give you, all the goodness that I shower you with? You don't thank me for it? You're not misameach with me? Then I'll take away your simcha. We have to make sure to look at the Ribono Shel Olam and to constantly thank the Ribono Shel Olam for all the goodness that he gives me. If you're missing your family around the table this year by Pesach, thank the Ribono Shel Olam for that family that you have. Thank the Ribono Shel Olam for the kinderlach that you have. Thank the Ribono Shel Olam for the einiklach that you have. Thank the Ribono Shel Olam for the zaydis that you have and for the parents that you have that you're missing. Thank the Ribono Shel Olam for all the time that he gives you with them. Everything that you have, look around you in your home and take a look. Look at the goodness that the Ribono Shel Olam has given me. Thank you, Hashem. We're misameach with the Ribono Shel Olam, especially now on Yom Tov during the Zman of Simcha. We do all have to make sure to be b'simcha. Whereas Hashem, the Ribono Shel Olam should bring all of our Simcha back. The Ribono Shel Olam should be Megan Gans Klal Yisrael. He should protect Gans Klal Yisrael. He should give Yeshuas and Refuas to all those who need it. He should bring back our Simcha, but he should make our Simcha kefil keflayim. He should increase our Simcha, and he should bring us back to Eretz Yisrael, back to Yerushalayim, b'mehera of Yameinu. Right now, he should bring us to the Geula Shlema. We should be Mesameach in Yerushalayim by a Beis HaMikdash with a Melech HaMashiach, a true Simcha. Thank you so much for listening. I hope all of you are well and stay well. Thank you. And good night.